Chullin Daf test says the Gemara. If you were to eat all of this in one shot, 16 eggs, 40 nuts, 7 caper berries, and a revius of honey, your heart will explode. Not a good idea. Don't try it at home. There was once a deer that was brought into Bezin where its rear legs were severed. So Rav said, let me check the Tzem Sagidin. If the Tzem Sagidin are intact, then the deer is kosher. And he said, okay, the deer is kosher. Says Shmuel, wait a minute. Why are his feet severed? He probably got bit by a snake. And even though if you were bit by a snake, it's kosher, but still a person might eat the poison and it will kill him. It's a sakana. So let's check it. How do you check it? Asked Rav. You put it in an oven and see if it falls apart. Sure enough, they put it in an oven and it fell apart. Says Shmuel to Rav. It says in the pasuk, "Layuna litzadik kolavan." You were saved. You're a tzaddik. No harm will happen to you. So he returned the favor and he said, "Kol raz loy honestly. You know all the secrets. Who told you that you put it in an oven and it falls apart? These are secrets that only Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave you." Says the Mishnah. We know the siman of a kosher animal is that it has split hooves. It chews its cud. What about birds? There's 24 non-kosher birds in the Torah without any simanim. Now, if one were to know all the birds, which nobody really knows because they're all different types of birds and they're called different names. A nesher, some people think is an eagle, some people think it's a vulture. We don't know. But if you were to know the names, then you say this is not one of the 24 birds, then it would be okay. You could eat it. So what are some of the simam that we have? Says the Mishnah, we have something called doiris. Rashi explains according to Rashi that the bird is able to pick up the food with his feet and put it into its mouth, such as the mekah. Over here, he's lifting its foot to put it in his mouth. A siman of a kosher bird is that it has an extra finger, like we have in our chicken, right over here, extra finger. Some Rishonim say it's the middle finger that is extra. The other thing of a siman is that it has a crop, and that its gizzard right over here can be peeled easily. Rabbi Elazar Reb Tzadok says a siman is that it's chaylik raglav, meaning that it has two parts to its foot. When it stands on a wire, on a branch, it has the front claws and the rear claws, as you see depicted right over here. What about a grasshopper? Some people eat grasshoppers till this very day, teimanim. What are the simanim? First of all, it has to have 4 legs, 4 wings, 2 karsulayim, which are the jumpers that propel it into the air. Some people say it's the little part on the bottom that goes this way. And the wings have to be choifa roiv gufay, have to cover most of its body. Rabbi Ezi also says not only that, it also has to be called a grasshopper. If you call it cockroach, let's say, and it has all these simanim, you're not allowed to be eating it. Fish, they have to have snabber b'kaskeses, scales and fins. These are scales right over here. These are the many fins that it has. Says the Mishnah, scales is plural, so it needs to have at least 2 of these guys, and fin only 1. Scales don't have to move and propel the fish, but the fins do propel and move the fish through the water. Non-kosher fish that don't have fins, they just move their body like eels, etc. If a person is going in the desert, he's starving, and he happens upon an animal, how does he know if it's kosher? So he'll check its hooves. What if the animal doesn't have hooves? He can only check its mouth. There's a trick. You look in his mouth. If it doesn't have upper front teeth, it's a sign that it's kosher, provided that you are certain that it's not a camel. If it doesn't have a mouth, its mouth is messed up, disfigured, you look at its hooves. If it has hooves, split hooves, then it's kosher, provided that you're certain that it's not a pig. What if it doesn't have not hooves and not a mouth? There's another trick. After you shecht it, you open it up, and you see if it has, in the back of its body, it has one piece of meat that is shasi v'erev, meaning the grain goes in 2 different directions, like this picture from Sichas Chullin, and provided that you know for a fact that it's not a wild donkey, because a wild donkey also has that same characteristic. As the Gemara, if we have these 3 animals, a camel, donkey, and a pig, that have simanim that are similar to a kosher animal, perhaps there are other animals that we never met in the jungles of Brazil, somewhere that we don't know. Says the Gemara, impossible, because the Torah says, Gomel hu, chazer he. These are the only things that are similar and might confuse us, but there are no other animals. And even this donkey in the desert, we have a Kabbalah that's the only thing like that. Now, if you know that the animal is kosher, but you're not sure if it's an animal, a behema, or a chaya. The difference between a behema and a chaya is that a chaya, its chaylev, its fat chaylev, is mutter to eat. You're allowed to eat everything in the animal besides the gidah nasha, but you don't know. So you check. If it has horns and very pointy hooves, then it is a chaya. Here are the pointy hooves, as you can see right over here, very pointy versus the cow, which is rounded. Now, if the the animal has split horns, like antlers, they branch off, then it's 100% kosher, no problem. But if they're not split, so there's something called keruchois, chadurois, and charukois, meaning they are layered like an onion, they're round, not like triangle, and they are grooved to the point where the grooves are next to each other, like you see over here, these grooves are very close to each other. Interesting enough, the Gemara says that its tzvi, its antlers, its horns are not split, and we all know that a deer has split antlers. Even the art scroll says so. So says Rashi, we're probably talking about this guy. When the Gemara says here tzvi, we're talking about ibex, not a real deer that we're familiar with. There's a machlokes about this goat called Eiz Karkois. On the one hand, he has horns that are very similar to a chaya. They're round and they are grooved, but they're not layered. And on the other hand, his name is goat. Goat is a behemoth. So what do? So Rav Chai said you can't eat from it. It's a behemoth. Shmuel says you could. The Gemara passings like Shmuel, but they said don't say anything not nice to Rav Chai. Don't make him feel bad because he's galad dar. But on the other hand, it says Shmuel, because of my mouth, I was able to eat. Mipri pi tis ba'ish. There's an animal called keresh. This keresh the Gemara says, is like 30 feet tall, and it has a single horn, a unicorn. The Sichas Chullin says perhaps we're talking about a giraffe. And nowadays it's only about 20 feet tall, but it has a single horn. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, it has two horns. I looked it up, and sure enough, a giraffe has a single horn right over here. These guys are probably just antennas or whatever, softer material, but this is a real horn. Not everybody holds like that, but it's a nice theory. And we know that it's Mafres Parsa and Shisei Shesa, it has all the characteristics of a kosher animal. And by the way, I think that when they say that we don't have a Messiah, we're a Shech, that's not 100% accurate, because the Gemara says you can shech an animal from the Tabas HaGdoila all the way down to the lungs. There's no area that you need a shech. I think that's just a made-up story. But anyway, the Gemara says that the tigris, which seems like a tiger, is really the Aryeh Bei Eloi. The Bei Eloi is a special place. We don't know where it is. Maybe it's Eloi in Shemaim, but it's a place that has giant creatures. One of the creatures it has is an Aryeh, which is just its width from ear to ear is 9 amas, which is 18 feet. Tremendous animal. An animal like that has to hunt giant animals. It can't have a little dinner. So the deer in Bei Eloi are about 30 feet long, 16 amas, 32 feet long. Says the Gemara story. The Caesar of Rome told Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, if your Hashem is nimshal to a lion, it says, Ar Yishag Milo Yira, what's the big deal? Any one of my soldiers could kill him. He said, no. I'm talking about the Ari of Bei Eloi. So he says, I want to see him. He says, impossible, nobody could see him. I demand that I see him. So he said, okay. He davened, and sure enough, the Ari started coming. When the Ari was 1,000 miles away, 400 parsa away from Rome, the wall started falling down. He let out a roar, and all the women lost their pregnancies. When the Ari was only 750 miles away, 300 parsas away from Rome, he let out another roar, and people's teeth started falling out, and the Roman Caesar fell off his chair. And then at that point, he realized it's not good. He said, please daven for me, make this go away. And sure enough, it went away. Apparently, this guy wasn't a very bright fellow, and he says, wait a minute, I want to see your Rebbeinu Shalom. Nobody could see Rebbeinu Shalom. But I demand. So he said, okay, come. Takes him outside in the summer day. He says, look up, see. You see the sun? Look over there. He said, I can't look at the sun. He said, you can't look at the sun. The sun is just a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Certainly, you cannot look at the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. Have a wonderful Shabbos. I will see you, Be'ezer Hashem, on Motzei Shabbos.